Oh, that got bigger.
Big. Yeah, see? So I can...
Hey, everybody.
Are we live?
I think so.
Get the man a microphone. Hopefully you guys can hear me now.
Let's see if we are popping up live here.
My smart aleckness. Let me go over here.
Okay, yep, there we are. Okay, we're going to get this down. Holy smokes, we suck.
Whatever.
Yay! We are on here. How are everybody? We're still trying to figure out how to get all these... Get over here, boy.
I'm fixing my stuff. Shush. Hopefully you can hear the microphone. Let's see. Live.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hopefully you guys can all hear us. And see us too. All right. Cody talking about Sonny and Cher's getting me divorced had me laughing. Yeah, it did. Oh my gosh. The dramatics of this man know no bounds, I swear. So, okay. So this episode, we remembering why we never watched the series, because we did watch this episode twice. Because we watched it late last night and then watched it again today. It's hard to sit through. I think what do you think? I think when you live this way or you grew up this way and then you watch it, it feels a little torturous. I won't lie.
PTSD. We lived this way growing up, and so a lot of times we don't remember some of the crap that goes on, and then you're like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that growing up as a kid. So we've lived normal lives, if you will, away from it for quite a bit of time. So usually it's only if you go up for Thanksgiving or something like that you run into.
Go to Montana, he's talking about. So
with the other family.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the stuff that we watch is just, it gets to be a little bit harder. Somebody says it was hard to watch Mary really still seem to be struggling. I actually really thought Mary came into her own on this episode a lot. I was really proud of her because she just really has she doesn't care about Cody at all. And I feel like it's reflective in the way she talks to him.
Yeah, I thought she does have some sadness, but I think she's working through that sadness, and so she can be smart aleck too. And so I've enjoyed seeing Mary put the priesthood back in its place, if you will, in some of the episodes. So
yeah, and I think maybe we'll talk a little bit more about some of that kind of stuff on this episode too. I thought it was funny when Nathan was on. I didn't know Nathan really well growing up. I knew of him and I knew who he was, but I didn't know him that well. I can't even honestly remember his last name. And so, but he wasn't, I think he's the only one in his family that converted into the group. So I don't think that he had a big family in the group. And we call it the group or the AUB or the All Red group. So I'm just so used to calling it the group. So Nathan is Mary's brother-in-law. He's married to Mary's sister, Rebecca, which I knew Rebecca, but I didn't know Nathan that well or his family that well. And so we kind of start the episode out watching them come in. Nathan happens to be Cody's best friend. I do think the only reason Cody came over to Mary's house to help her move was because, Nathan fawned all over him and he got a fan. And so, yeah, he was just, exactly. I'll choose the blonde guy with the curly hair. That comment seemed a little...
To give the priesthood kiss too.
We're going to talk about the priesthood kiss apparently on this episode. But yeah, and so it's interesting to me. There's a lot to go over on this episode. Even though it felt like the episode was a nothing burger to me, there was still a lot that happened that I saw, that maybe you saw too, I don't know. But it was just the way that these boys interact with each other is just, bleh. It's gross to me. So, but Rebecca's a sweetheart. I think Rebecca was she stole the show on this one when she's like, excuse me, the other two girls left you. You told Mary you didn't want to be married to her anymore. And so I just am really starting to see a difference in these women. They show the scene of Christine moving out of her house, and she's telling Cody, I know that you want to be in charge of this, but I'm in charge of this one. So you're starting to see a lot more where they're just starting to own their own power so much more, where before they would have tuck-tailed and just did whatever Cody told them to do. And so it's interesting to me to watch these women come into that. It's interesting to me because I was that person who did what I was told all the time until I just didn't care anymore. And I can't say the F word on here, so I just had no more F's to give. And then I've watched my mom do it as she's left my dad. And now I'm watching these girls do it. And there's just something so empowering about watching these women finally take control and not bow down to the priesthood authority that they feel like their husbands have always had. And that is Cory's facial expressions. Mm-hmm. That is one of the things that is so infuriating to me to watch this show, if I'm being totally honest, is the fact that these women they just bow down to these men. I bowed down to this man that I was married to for 10 years. I bowed down to him and did what I was told all the time. And it's disgusting to watch these women do that. That's one of the biggest reasons why we haven't watched the show. Cory, it's a joke in our house. Cory likes to make fun of all of us, whenever he tells me something, hey, your priesthood head just gave you this order, go get that done. And I'm like, I will unalive you right now. So somebody says, did your grandparents, both parents join the AUB? They did. My dad's parents did. My mom's parents did not. So my dad's parents joined, I think right after he did, but I'm not sure, but we did not, or my other grandparents did not. They were faithful Mormon LDS people till the day they died. And so, okay, so they're all kind of hesitant about getting together. Now, this happens a lot in the AUB. I think they played this up a little bit more than they needed to about the awkwardness of Cody coming to help her move. I mean, my ex-husband came over here all the time and celebrated holidays with us and celebrated birthdays with us because we had children together. And my children were really quite small when we divorced. I had a 2-year-old. I filed for divorce when he was 1. And then I had a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old when we got divorced. So they were very, very young. Where Mary doesn't have any more children. So honestly, the run-ins with Cody are going to be a lot less often because she just doesn't have small children with him anymore. Let's see. So the way we have this set up now is I actually don't see everything exactly, the comments. So I'm not sure if I'm going to see when we get a pinned comment, but I'm going to watch for it. So yeah, there's a group of men in the AUB that, in all of the different structures, there's groups of men and they just kiss each other's ass and it's exhausting to watch. It really is. And it's like,
that's how you make it to the top.
Yeah, it is. And so they stroke each other's egos so severely. Cory's mind is so dirty. But it's exhausting to watch because they do that all the time. And so when I watch Nathan and Cody together, it gives me that because there's a group, and Cody was involved in this different group where money was, I think in any communal society, you get to the point where you're just like, you compare each other. Do you make as much money as I do? Do I make as much money as you do? Do I have a nicer house? Is your wife as skinny as mine? And there's this constant comparison with each other all the time. And Cody did have friends like that, and they were exhausting to be around. I never really stayed around them very much because they were just exhausting. And so that's when Nathan comes in here and sorry, Nathan, if you watch this, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but he kind of looked like a lap puppy, just kissing Cody's ass. And it was kind of a little exhausting to watch, if you ask me. And so now we're at Cody and Mary's.
Everybody needs friends. So.
And I just feel bad because it's almost like they stroke each other's ego so badly that then they just are, all of them are full of shit. And it got exhausting to watch growing up, to be honest. And then when I see this, it gives me a little bit back, some of that PTSD watching this. And Cody's had some of his other friends come on the show that I saw. a couple years ago that were just kind of the same way. It was so bad. And I was just like, yeah, they just stroke each other's ego all the time. Did Nathan's second wife that left him stay in the AUB? I actually don't know who his second wife was, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure that's information I could easily find out. I didn't even know he had a second wife, to be honest. And I don't really know that much about Nathan. Rebecca just friend requested me on social media not too long ago. So maybe I will check that out. I don't know.
Thanks, Ella.
Yeah, thanks, Ella.
You're one of our subscribers.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, thanks for the question. So yeah, that's just what's funny is it can be a good old boys club of, I'm going to make you feel like you're so important. You're going to make me feel like I'm so important. And then their inflated egos make them feel like they're more important than not. And that's kind of the sense that I got off of this scene. But Rebecca's a sweetheart. I have always adored Rebecca. And she's always been really, really sweet. I think it's ridiculous that Cody is like, you're not going to keep any of this for sentimental value. Why would she want to do that, dude? You told her she didn't want to be married to you. She doesn't want anything with you around.
She's going to melt it down.
Melt down
all
the furniture.
The sentimental shit that she doesn't want anymore, melt it down and make.
Oh my gosh.
Sell something with it.
So Cody doesn't have any more power over her. She'll melt down all of the,
sentimental shit.
Yeah. Emily says she agrees they listen to each other instead of listening to their wives. And that's why half of them get divorced, is because their wives just can't stand it. They just can't stand listening to that crap about it. And they don't listen to their wives. They do listen to each other. But it's just such a fake, no, dude, you're doing a good job, I swear. No, your priesthood is way more strong, right? You know, it just gets exhausting. And so Nathan, very nice guy, don't have an issue with him, but it just this scene just kind of frustrated me because I experienced that so much. So being a man in the group, did you ever feel that way? Like, because you were never really like in the in crowd. So did you feel, did you notice the other guys who all...
When I was in the group, I was a boy. So
most of these are boys too. I wouldn't necessarily classify them men.
I became a man. So yeah, I hung out with a group that didn't obey the priesthood leaders. I was a heathen. Yeah. So I didn't hang out with this crowd. So.
No, you didn't at all. But I know in Montana they would have had people like this in Montana.
Yeah. The studious that went to their priesthood meetings. And
I think almost like the guys in Montana, in my opinion, were worse than the guys in Utah. The guys in Utah always had pissing matches about who made the most money, who had the nicest house, who had the nicest truck, who had the nicest 4x4, whatever it was, where guys in Montana were just like, how's your priesthood doing this week? Mine's pretty big.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference right there.
Play basketball.
Theirs was basketball up in Montana too. They'd get in these pissing matches playing basketball.
It's more like football sometimes.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they were horrible. The men in Montana were horrible. I mean, I married two of them. I got a really good one the second go around. But the men in Montana are so full of themselves. It's unreal. Most polygamous men are very... Okay, I killed that subject.
Yeah. So. Some of us are still full of ourselves. So. People put cool stuff on here saying that I look like rock stars, so I'm happy.
So, and then they're just talking about how Cody's not the same lucky go person that he used to be. I fully agree with this because I honestly, he's unrecognizable from episode 1 to now. And where all these women have changed so much for the better. And he is not changed for the better. He's grumpy, he's grouchy, he's just not even a happy person at all. I mean, his eye color, people have said, he had blue eyes. He's like so super intense now. He is just not the same person at all. And then when Robin uses a very choice word right here where she says that he has, I don't know, will this get us censored? He has a murder face. That was a very interesting word to me that she would choose to use that word. That seems extremely severe. Of a word choice. And then she's like, too much for the kids. Honestly, I think that's a lot of her helicopter mom coming in too, telling him how he can parent, how he can't parent. I found that kind of interesting. That goes to show you right there, okay, this is kind of maybe an insider thing that most people wouldn't know. I think that if Janelle or Christine or Mary would have said, you can't do that to the kids, he would have went, whoa, back up. I'm the parent too. I will make these decisions too. You can't tell me exactly how, like, it would have been a conversation. But when Robin says it, it's an order. It's an instruction. Here, you don't get to talk to the kids like that. And then he just bows down and takes that. Does that make sense?
That's a favorite wife.
That's a favorite wife move.
Yeah.
Because the other wives probably would not have said that. They would have let him continue disciplining and then talked to him about it later.
Or he would ignore them and discipline his kids like he has been, talking to them and saying, hey, I'm not going to answer your phone or talk to you until you apologize to the favorite wife.
Right.
He doesn't put it in those words, but everybody kind of knows that it's the favorite wife that's ruling the nest. Now it's the only wife. So
yeah. And so that right there shows you that is a favorite wife status, because the other wives, he would have just flat out ignored him, continued disciplining, doing whatever he needed to. He wouldn't have stopped doing whatever he needs to. But I just thought her choice of words was really interesting when she said that. Get in your pajamas and use the word murder. That doesn't seem like that seems like a very intense, extreme word to be used to describe that situation. So I thought that was a little bit unnecessary, but there you go. But when you're the favorite wife, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and they just take it. Somebody says, do kids of the favorite wife often act superior to the other kids in the family? Absolutely.
Sometimes, yeah.
I would say in my family, they absolutely did. And it was disgusting because they knew that they would never get in trouble. They knew that they wouldn't get spanked. What's funny, we have this conversation all the time now, is that now if you listen to the favorite kids go back and tell their stories about how they were so done wrong, you're like, are you kidding me? I got the shit beat out of me. And you got a talking to? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's good. It was still a discipline.
Yeah. So, and yes, we did. We got beat quite often. It was a very physically aggressive group. So I definitely know that might get some comments on there, but we were definitely.
I'm a grown man now, and I scare myself when I take my own belt off. I'm like,
oh my gosh. Or and it's funny because you can watch him like cringe sometimes if his mom says something, and you're just like, oh, don't
wait
hit
a minute,
me.
I'm a grown adult.
Yeah.
I'm a big kid now. So.
Yeah. So somebody says, do you think that being scrutinized on TV forged Cody into an unrecognizable person? I don't know. I think a lot of it is his own anger. Because I feel like they're starting to go into a lot more why releases are so significant. That is really, really a significant thing to be able to get a release. And I feel like this episode, they explained it a lot more. That's why, I feel like it's just kind of been this blown off thing, like it's not that big of a deal, but it really is. That's something that will hit somebody to a core level of, it can alter the way that they see themselves. It can alter their own self-value. I know that my ex-husband, it took a long time for me to be able to get that release. But when I finally did, it devastated him because it hits your core belief of who you are and makes it, am I a failure? Am I a loser? Am I looking less than to God? What?
That was a unique thing with Cody.
Yeah.
That he did say on here that he would be offended for, I guess, the girls, I'll have to read it, that they were stuck with or were connected with him for eternity now that he's found his soulmate.
Right.
And that's interesting. That's a whole different, can be a whole different thought pattern in the AUB. Usually they have multiple soulmates, if you will.
But King Benjamin did actually, Cody's nephew, his name's King Benjamin on TikTok, did a really good TikTok about this, about how you have one soulmate and then the other women are kind of like leftover women. I really enjoyed that TikTok, so if nobody has seen him, definitely go take a look at him. The comment, thank you, Ella, is, would Mary have gotten the marriage release this easily if she wasn't on TV? No, I really don't think she would have. Because, go ahead.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't have, because he didn't make, usually they don't make the public announcement that they don't want to be married to him anymore. That right there was the stickler. All she had to do is replay that scene or replay what he's saying. And then he didn't want to talk to him. So to defend himself in any way, I'm just doing it for TV. No, he didn't even want to talk to him. So they're like, well, we'll take his word for it. He doesn't want to be married to her anymore.
Right. I mean, it took me a year and a half. It took me almost 4 years from the time I first asked for a release until I actually got one. Because honestly, it is a good old boys club. And they believe my ex-husband was hiring prostitutes, and I still couldn't get a release, allegedly. Even though credit card receipts prove it, but whatever. I digress. But it is a very good old boys club, and he was in the prophet's back pocket, and so I wasn't able to get a release for a really long time. I had to become a really mean person to get that. I think Mary does the release to hurt Cody. I don't think she believes in the religion at them. I didn't either. I honestly was the Christine. I was just walking away. I didn't care. The only reason I got the release is because Cory requested it after we started dating, because he wanted to try to be as respectful to my dad as possible so that he could be welcomed into our family. Were the Browns making tithing on? It did work. It did work. My dad loves Cory. And actually, I know we probably didn't introduce ourselves again, but we were both born and raised in the AUB. My dad is the current prophet. I was married in the AUB and had 3 children with my ex-husband, and before Cory and I got married. And then Cory was raised in the Pinesdale compound. Up in Montana. My dad had 9 wives, 27 biological children. 39. I got it all written down now. 39 children, all raised in the same 2 houses next to each other. So we were, our families were very similar to the Browns family. Were the Browns making tithing on the TLC money? I don't know, but I would assume yes. I would assume that they were paying their tithing. At the beginning, but when they left, then probably not so much anymore. Let's see. Does anyone think that this is out of pocket? Does anyone else think Cody might be gay? That's all I'm going to say on that question. That's hilarious. Cory grew up with Robin and her brothers. Yep, he did. And so, okay, I love the scene. I really love the scene with Christine and David. If you can put out all the PDA that they have going on, I think it's sweet, that she gets to have an affectionate partner with her. But it's really the kids in the background that crack me up. You can see the banter going on between them. You can see the banter that Truly has. She feels obviously safe around David, which is amazing to see that. Isabel is just a beautiful soul inside and out. She is just as sweet as she can. Are you guys in contact with all of your siblings? Pretty much, yeah. There's some I choose not to talk to just because I choose not to be around them. But not because of polygamy. But yeah, pretty much. And I would say you are too, right? Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well, there's a few that I haven't talked to in years. So, but. Somebody says 9 wives. I didn't realize AB men had that many wives. So my dad has 8 that he claims. So he had 2 that passed away, 2 that have now left him, and 4 that he is still currently married to, as the prophet. So yes, my mom's left him, and then the first wife left him. So the first wife is left when I was 2 years old. My mom was the second wife, and now she's left. And then he had 2 wives pass away, and then he currently has 4 active wives with him. And Cory's dad passed away, and all of the other wives passed away, but 3. So there's still 3 wives. Well, yeah, some of them divorced him. Yeah, 1 divorced him, and 2 are still together. He lost some in divorce, but yeah. So I wish Christine and Janelle would request to be released. I do too, but I also see why they don't, because it's just not necessary. I didn't think it was necessary. Yeah. My ex-husband still thinks he owns me and still thinks and I got a release from the prophet at the time. But he still thinks he owns me, and it's just, it never leaves these men's head. They think women are property. In the AUB, women are property, and they're treated as such. And, yeah, because he didn't request the release, I did. He still owns me. Okay. Yeah. But yeah,
It's like playing a fake game like Dungeons and Dragons, and then you die in there, and then you want to go back and ask them to resurrect you or re-raise you. It's like, okay, I'm done playing the game, and walk away.
Right.
You don't sit there and
keep entertaining it.
Keep entertaining them. It's just a game if they don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah.
Why do it? And he basically released them himself by making his statement in this one that it would be. He's offended that they would be
stuck with him for eternity.
He released them, that, if you will, that way.
Okay, so, this man is so...
he wants his soulmate.
He tries to sound so smart, and he just comes out sounding... I can't even think of the words. He sounds so stupid. I do agree. It was funny because I do agree that somebody says, why did she have to get married so soon right afterwards? I agree. We dated for a year and a half. Thank you. We dated for a year and a half before we got married, but I had small children, and I wanted to make sure what I was doing was the right thing for my children. Christine is 50, and when this film was filmed, she is 50. And so, that's tricky. I am new. Are you all former polygamists? Sorry if I'm not articulating this correctly. We were actually born and raised in this polygamist group. We were never polygamists. My ex-husband and I courted and dated a few girls. Got pretty serious with one of them, who happened to be the prophet's daughter, but we didn't. We never actually lived that way. Has any woman ever gotten a release from a prophet? Mom, are you watching this? No, my mom does want a release, but how's she going to get one? He's the prophet. He's not going to give it to her. So she's requested one. I don't even know that she's requested one. I know that most of the men won't even listen to her or talk to her or even find out why she wants to separate from my dad. They don't care. Okay. It's a good old boys club, once again. I wonder what Robin thought of the release since she talked about it with Christine. So there's a lot of questions going on around the release. Like, Christine was just automatically released when she was intimate with another man. That's not really how it works. I can kind of explain it a little bit the way I understood it, or the way that I was taught it, and correct me if you heard something different, is that once you're sealed to somebody for all time and all eternity, if you try to get that release, then, or if you don't get that release and you are intimate with another man, or you have a physical intimate relationship, then you are still bound to that husband. So Christine would, in the way that I was taught, Christine would still technically be bound to Cody. She would just be a servant in heaven at that point. She would lose her status as a partner and a queen and a wife, and she would then go to a servant status in his kingdom. So he might have a really clean house. I don't know. Really clean mansion in heaven. What?
Same as she was when she was married to him.
Right.
So he didn't love her. He had his 100-yard stare and didn't love her. Thought he was being roped into it. So according to him, so that would be her eternity. So
So that's kind of how I was.
His make-believe.
That's how I understood it. Yeah. So Cory's always teasing me that he's going to be a servant in my kingdom with my ex-husband. So he always always jokes about how he's going to be out there in the yard.
Going fishing. Yep. Hanging out.
So.
Doing cool servant stuff.
So somebody says, what do you think about Christine's comment that she wouldn't care if her kids liked David? I think it's, I see it two different ways. I see why she wants to be empowered she's put everyone else ahead of her own wants and needs for most of her life. And she's done doing that. And so I understand it from that point of view. But then also, as a mother, I would struggle with that a little bit because my children are my most important thing in life. And so from a mother's standpoint, I struggle with that one a little bit. But then I also understand why she's saying that. And she just wants her kids to like him, and she's hoping that eventually they will. The way she said it was a little bit harsh and aggressive, so I understand why there was some concerns about that. Somebody says, can Cody take on another wife as an independent? He can do whatever he wants to, honestly. Yeah. A lot of independents do that. They just marry whoever they want, whenever they want. And I said this in a live before. I asked one of my married one of my polygamous friends, Independence, one of the Dargers, how do you guys get married? And she's like, we just have a commitment ceremony. We kneel together as a family and we say a prayer. I'm like, well, then how do you get divorced? Like, how do you, and she goes, we just decide we're divorced. So, I think that the women need to have a man to get into heaven. They do. So I did a TikTok on this, and you need a ticket. There's ticket wives. I call them ticket wives, where they basically just marry a man to get them into heaven because women are not capable of getting into heaven on their own. And so there's a lot of bullshit we were fed as a kid. But the way he says this is such crap. You know, I've heard that Christine had her soulmate, and I'm very happy for her and very excited for her new relationship. I'm offended by the idea that she would be stuck with me for eternity. Dude, that offended me. I don't want to be stuck with my ex-husband for eternity. So, yeah. But I think it is a little premature that they're searching for venues to get married at when they've known each other for 6 weeks. But if you know, you know, and I wish her the best, and I really hope for the best. And he seems like such a great guy. And she, like she said, she's 50, and she doesn't want to wait around to enjoy the rest of her life. She wants to start moving on now. And so I can't blame Christine for that. And at the same time, in one breath, it's like, you barely know this person that you're about to get sealed to in its religious ceremony for time and all eternity. Mm-hmm. And that seems unfair. But then you go marry the guy you just met 6 weeks later. What's the difference? There's not a lot of difference.
It was her choice, though. Or, if you will. And he reciprocated and said, hey, I like you too. Yeah. Which probably didn't happen in her first marriage, So, okay, and I love this point that Christine made about in polygamous marriages, the second, third, fourth wives, they're not celebrated. And the reason that they do this, the fourth is you get a huge lavish wedding. But the reason why I was always taught that this happens, like the first wife, you can do whatever you want. I had a stupid reception. There was like 500 people there, and it was huge. And it was in my parents' backyard. It was like, I think we passed out almost 500 invitations. It was ginormous. But I think that they do this because it is such a hard transition for the polygamous wives. And so it's a very hard transition for them. So they're crying dang near the entire time. I was really proud of these women when at Robin's wedding that they weren't all bawling their heads off, because that's a lot how it is. So they'll do small dinners or small receptions, something like that. I see your brains churning over here. I mean, Cody wanted this wedding, is what Robin was saying. This wedding was about it wasn't about me. It was about all the other women I wanted to make. Okay, yeah. So she wanted that small little wedding like the second and third wife got. But Cody insisted on this massive, thank you.
Yeah, I think she had a shotgun wedding before is what I've heard. She was pregnant before.
Wedding, and it was for the other wives. It wasn't for her. So that was super noble of her. I'd just give her kudos on that one. Nobility runs deep in this woman. So,
oh my gosh. Okay, and one thing Diane just said, is Cody going to realize he has to downsize his celestial kingdom? That's hilarious. And it's funny to me too, because people ask me these questions like they're so serious, and I'm like, this is a man-made up religion. I hope everybody realizes that it's not real. Was David's family in the AUB? Oh, David Woolley. Yeah, sorry. My dad's name's David. I'm like, yeah, he's a prophet. But no, David's family, no, he wasn't in the AUB. But from what he does have a polygamous last name, though. Woolley was very deep polygamous roots. So I don't believe that he was in the AUB beforehand. But I've heard stories that his sisters are currently polygamous in Mexico, I think. And so I've heard that. But I really did like Christine's take on that. Why in a group that you're supposed to live plural marriage, why do they not celebrate the plural marriage?
Yeah.
You know, and I fully agree with that. Now, I would have been the first wife having my husband marry a second wife, and I could see why that would happen. I could see why that would be hard, because I would have been that person. Another thing so we're right on Christine talking about the wedding stuff. Another thing that I have said this in many, many, many TikToks that I have done. The whole polygamist royalty thing it's bullshit. That was made up for TV. It's not a thing. Christine is not polygamous royalty. She is to some degree, because her grandpa's the one who started the whole entire thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Hi, sister. Katie, our little sister's on here. But that doesn't mean she's polygamous royalty. It doesn't mean that she has any more power in this group than anyone else does. It doesn't. And so I felt like this goes back to the very beginning of this live, when I said there's a bunch of men out there who stroke each other's egos. That would be a thing that they would stroke each other's egos. Oh, you got a granddaughter of the founder of the AUB. Oh my gosh. It doesn't mean anything to the rest of us. It only means something to people who need it to mean something. So when she says that, polygamous royalty, I didn't care about that. That meant nothing. She's right. It doesn't mean anything. That's something Cody made up in his head to make himself be more important than he needed to be. And it's just disgusting to me. Okay, Robin shouldn't have worn a traditional wedding dress if she felt that way. I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And I noticed too, when she was talking, she was angry. She felt angry to me. I could be wrong, but yeah, I sensed that I made sure, it's like she was defending herself. I made sure that everybody was welcomed into my wedding, and it's like almost like she was trying to dispel rumor. At least that's what I thought. Now when they say that, it's so funny because so many of the weddings and so many of the events that these guys have had on TV, a huge portion of my family is in them, and so it cracks me up. We actually haven't been invited or gone to any of them. But do you guys live polygamy? We don't. Just born and raised in it. But when she says that there's about going to be like 750 people at her wedding, yeah, it's probably true. Oh, and the Sonny and Cher comment, so funny. So, another creator,
like pressure into marrying Christine because of her last name.
Yeah,
probably pressure he put on himself, but it could have been if she was interested in the family, but it's just pressure he put on himself.
Right.
So.
Right.
He was wanting to get those 3 wives. He was wanting to. Oh, thanks, Kiana. He was wanting to get those 3 wives and rank high up in the AUB. You get 3 wives, you get whatever it is, a bishophood.
Right.
So different ranking.
Right. And Christine, as you can see now, she was aggressive when she was a kid. She liked him, and she was not shy about it. She wanted everyone to know. And so I'm not sure if he did feel pressured that way, or if he felt like it would give him some level of status. But I just think it's weird. And a creator on here that I really, really admire, one of the things that she said about the Sonny and Cher comment was, if that was your biggest childhood trauma, really? I totally feel that way. I was like, really? But I do understand how certain things can impact our thoughts about what the world should be. So I do understand that. But I'm sorry, got to go back to Mary's comment on the last time. If you didn't want to be wrong, maybe you should have married the same. If you didn't want to fail, maybe you shouldn't have married the wrong woman 1, 2, or 3 times. Amen.
That was a good trauma to have, the Sonny and Cher. I didn't know Sonny and Cher when I grew up. Ours was the end of the world. So.
Right.
So that's a good one.
Is the AUB a culture that prefers male children? I don't know necessarily. I don't think that they necessarily prefer male children. My mom had all the girls. My other mother had all the boys pretty much. And my dad, I felt like doted over us. Okay. Our dad, I felt like doted over us a little bit more because we were the girls, and it was almost like, okay, this might sound really bad, but I'm going to say it anyways. Girls were a commodity to be traded.
Chattel.
They were chattel.
So, thank you
And
guys.
So I know that's going to sound horrible, and anyone can take that out of context however they want to, but it's true. Women were property. And so my dad, every girl that my dad got was one more option to trade.
Yeah, and I have a whole different, I have an opinion on it. Our family had probably half and half, boys and girls, and the community, thanks for the ghost.
Oh, thank you, Diane.
The community wanted the girls to be in there for the men of the royal families to be able to marry, and the boys of my dad's family weren't necessarily wanted around. So we're talked bad about. We pushed out. Most of my brothers all moved away from the AUB, moved out into the world and hated the religion and found wives outside of the AUB.
Yep.
Where some of my sisters married within the AUB.
Yep. And women were absolutely commodities to be traded. And I felt that way a lot growing up. So it was bad. Cody is watching Blue Humor in midriff bearing costumes at age 5. That's
Sonny
funny.
And Cher.
Sonny and Cher, that's hilarious.
I didn't know them growing up.
Yeah, Cory was not allowed to watch regular television or anything, so he literally knew nothing about the world until he got a little bit bigger. Being raised in a compound.
Sound of Music, The 10 Commandments, those were some of the...
What was the show that your family watched and then they made you guys cover your eyes? Oh, was it 7 Brides for 7 Brothers? And then the girls got in petticoats. They're under, and the mothers freaked out because that was too racy for these girls to
look like the long garments. So
someone says, did you see the post where someone said Robin purposely put herself in the path of the Browns? I wouldn't doubt that at all. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. I feel like that woman has had a long game from the day one.
Yep.
And I honestly have. I think it's funny that Cody's marry
Cody, check.
Yeah.
Have an 11 day honeymoon, check. Become first wife, check. Get the first wife to get a divorce so I can marry him legally, check. I mean, it's a check.
Oh my God, that's funny. Somebody says, Chief Officer, thank you for being a subscriber. I experienced girls being more valuable in an Iowa Catholic families because parents expected... Oh, shoot. It went away. Sorry. Expected more. And I mean, honestly, I felt like there was more expected of me. Now, I was the oldest, too, so that made a huge difference. But there was a lot expected of us as well. Marry into more farmland, check.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, and I love that...
Run off all the other wives, check.
Yeah.
Get a $2 million home, check.
Yeah. Are you surprised that Cody and Mary only had 2 biological children together? I am a little bit surprised by that. I am and I'm not, because 2 biological children is enough to secure a position, right? I only had 2 with you. I secured a position.
Yeah.
So to me, 2 biological children is enough to secure that. So she didn't really need or want any more. What do you think about Cody and Robin buying a $2.1 million house? Well, I guess I wish I was as rich as them. I don't know. That's insane to me. But, I mean, real estate, we're in real estate, and real estate is crazy right now. We've been in real estate for 24 years, and it is a crazy business right now.
I haven't seen it. I should get online and look at that house. Let's see if there's rooms for other wives, maybe a barn dominium out back.
Cory did an open house the other day and referenced Cody and a barn dominium on it. It's hilarious.
The house has a cool barn dominium in the back of it.
Why do you think Cody cares for Robin's kids more than his own?
Obedience.
I was going to let you answer that first because I was curious what you were going to say.
Their mom's going to make him be obedient and they worship him, and everything he does is wonderful, and they have fallen in line perfectly. So, and she runs a very obedient household. So
yeah.
So, yep. He's her best customer. She makes sure that everybody, include the kids,
well, and
love
I think
and obedience.
Too, when you disparage the biological father as severely as I have seen, and like I said, we have not watched all the episodes, but when you disparage them, it's like, look what you have now. Look how wonderful he is. So of course they think he walks on water because look what their other option was.
That's his murder eyes.
Yeah. I'm glad Mary talked about things changing after the legal divorce because we could see that. Okay, I was going to get to this too. Yeah, go ahead.
No, everything changed. So everything shifted. Now things were in place. Signatures were in place. Now things could be said and done to distance the other wives. So
it's so bad. And this happens all the time. I have seen this happen more than once where like my dad, he didn't marry anybody legally for over 20 years. When his first wife left, she was the legal wife. They got a legal divorce. And for over 20 years, he did not marry anyone else legally. Then one day, he just goes and marries one of the wives legally without really talking. I mean, he had mentioned it to some of the wives. My mom was adamantly against it, but he just did it anyways. And so none of them really knew, from my understanding, none of them really knew when that had happened. My mom found out like 4 to 6 months later. It completely changed the family dynamics because now this one wife, who was wife number...
Thank you guys for all the
5,
gifts.
She was wife number 6. She now became the legal wife, and she knew it, and she owned it, and she was like, this is my house that you live in, so you better check yourself. And so the power of being the legal wife went straight to her head.
Yeah, Cody says stuff to Mary that she's like, well, apparently by getting the divorce, I no longer had power over him. Well, if that power was taken away from her,
where was it given to? Yeah.
And it was given, and he's using those terms power,
right?
Because he's taking the power away from Mary, so she doesn't have control of him,
right?
And handing it over to.
And like I've said in previous lives, it's disgusting because Janelle and Christine were informed of that decision. There was, at least from what we saw, they were only informed of that decision. They were not asked if they were okay with that. They were not consulted. It wasn't a family decision. So why are some family dynamics meant to be family decisions and other family dynamics are really none of your business till we inform you? That makes no sense to me.
That need to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that gets right to this question. What are your thoughts about Mary not talking to Janelle and Christine before the legal divorce? I think it's disgusting.
Yeah, they all should have had a meeting.
They all should have had a meeting and a discussion and said, here's what's going to happen. This is why. And again,
this is why.
Yeah.
This is.
You do not have to be legally married to legally adopt someone else's children. That was a long game. That was not.
Well, there's no. Yeah. I don't know. We don't know that. You might have to legally adopt somebody.
I mean, my dad, no. I don't know what Arizona state law is, but my dad married 2 women with 3 small children and never married them legally to adopt their.
Might have to legally adopt somebody.
I mean, my dad, no. I don't know what Arizona state law is, but my dad married 2 women with 3 small children and never married them legally to adopt their children. He was begging for Janelle to reconcile, but on previous accuses her of playing the victim card.
She doesn't have any victim cards. Cody and Robin have them all.
Oh my God.
Playing the game.
I was like, what is this man talking about? I think out of all of those women, that entire family dynamic, Janelle is the least victim out of every single person in that dynamic. So
and plays the least victim card. She's just like, no, this is where I'm going. Yeah, I was like, if they're playing a game, Cody and Robin, you guys have all of the victim cards up your sleeves. You're playing it every episode.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, he's just accusing her of what he's doing.
Right.
So
right. And so, okay, and we're at the point where Cody and Mary they're moving the furniture out. And I love the banter because Mary's just like, she doesn't care anymore. So I love the banter that she's like, well, I'm happy. And because Cody's like, oh, at least I have one happy woman in my life. And so I loved that banter between them because Mary just doesn't care anymore. And that is, speaking from personal experience, that is the most freeing place to be. When I didn't care anymore and I had a legal divorce and I had a spiritual divorce, there was nothing left for me to even slightly be nice to this man if I didn't want to.
Yeah, and she can still be nice. I think the whole weight is lifted off her shoulders so that she can just
I think there's a difference between being nice and still feeling like you have to kiss up to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what these women have to do. I felt like I always had to slightly kiss up to my ex-husband. Codependency is a person who gives all love, respect, trust, and protection with hopes it will be returned. I agree. And when you are in this polygamous situation, a lot of women become very codependent on their husbands. But I really love Rebecca in this episode. I just think I think that she is amazing. Her sense of humor, everything about her.
Kim says it perfect. Every accusation is a confession from him. Yeah.
Projection. Yeah. Cody and Robin are the biggest projectors I think I've ever seen. Yeah. On television, we don't watch a lot of reality TV either, but they are some pretty severe projectors. And you know that when somebody accuses you of something, it's typically because they have that within themselves.
Or they're irritated about it.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing somewhere else. So.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, when Cody started to cry, when he's like, we crashed the ship, and that makes me sad. I'm not sure how I felt about that. I instantly paused the show and turned to Cory. Do you think that was real? Or do you think that was practiced?
And I was like, if he wasn't sitting in front of a camera on a couch with an interview, I guess that could be real, but I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't.
I don't know.
I mean, I want to believe that this man has a soul, but it's hard to see that in some of the things.
I think he's just happy being married to one wife, his soulmate now.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I love it when Mary says, let's be real, Cody doesn't know me. He doesn't. He has no idea who this woman is anymore. Are Rebecca and Nathan still in the AUB? I don't know, but I believe that they are, but I don't know that for sure. I haven't been around the AUB for a hot minute.
I don't know either of them. I've never met either of them. So.
Yeah. So I think it is a little bit creepy when Nathan says that we just passed the part where he's like, I chose the blonde with the long hair. That felt a little bit like, what the heck? It felt just a little...
Boy, that crease.
Yeah, like a little... What are your thoughts on the whole Cody like a knife in my kidney? Drama queen. So dramatic. Honest to God, I really feel that he practices a lot of these things in the mirror and adds as much drama as he can to not get his show canceled.
And that's not bad. I practice in the mirror too. Telling my jokes.
No, he doesn't.
Put on 3 different shirts so my nipples didn't show.
Yeah. Right. And I think, I really, really like and appreciate this part where Mary's being just real about it. When she says, I honestly think the release hit Cody differently than he thought it would. And I agree with that. I agree that these men talk about all this, but until it actually happens, they don't necessarily know how they're going to feel about it. And it is a loss because you are prepped up so much that this is an eternal marriage. When you go in here, you're making an eternal commitment forever. And when that is taken away, there is a loss. Somebody says Cody's coached by Robin. That was my comment too, honestly. And so it's almost like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I can relate it to, but it is a severe loss because to them, they truly believe. So in this conversation, I think that is one of the things, that's one of Cody's defense mechanisms, is that when he gets sad, he becomes mean. And he says mean things because he's sad and he's broken and he's hurt. And anger is just a secondary emotion to sadness. And so I think he gets sad. And I mean, what are you going to say? I hear all these little grunts coming from you.
There's 2 different conversations. I'm just interested. I want to see future episodes because there's 2 conversations, and I don't even know if they'll put the conversations on TV between him and Robin about if you'd treated Mary a little bit nicer like you're doing now, she would have hung around, or I don't know. Were you just flirting with a woman that you no longer are married to or sealed to? I don't think that's the one. I think the other one, the first one, where it was should have been nicer to her, and she would have still hung around probably for another 10 years.
Yeah. So I definitely feel that Cody does experience a loss, a true, honest loss. Just like I said with Robin, she genuinely feels a true loss because she was sold a story. She was sold something that should have been, that never was. As a small child, we were all sold that story. When you get older and you have a sister wife that loves and adores you, when you know, this is what your family's going to be like. This is what you're going to be like.
Thanks for the gifts, guys.
So when you're sold that story and you get older and it's not that way, it's devastating because are you broken? You know, is now Cody's reassessing himself at a core level, hopefully.
Yeah. I think, too, the loss that Cody's probably feeling, I don't know. His loss is that he had built something up, I think, of this story of what a wonderful husband he was, what a wonderful father he was. He had this family. Robin wanted to come into it. And then he was in love with her and wanted to do all this stuff with her and didn't want to put as much time and effort into the other wives. And the other wives should have just dealt with that and still kept the family together, but because they chose to let the family come apart and don't want anything to do with him, I faked it. Yeah,
that's what you want, somebody to fake their happiness.
Keep faking it. Why can't they fake it?
So ridiculous. The fact that he even thinks that that's possible.
So I don't know.
Somebody says, is it true that husbands cannot seek termination of a marriage from the church? That's bullcrap.
They can.
And I love it when Mary calls him out on that last episode. She's like, who said that? That's bullcrap.
Yeah.
Because that is absolute crap. He just doesn't want to be the one who dissolved the relationship, because that does look worse on him when you're a man and you go to the priesthood or the leadership and you say, hey, I want a divorce from this woman. That doesn't look good. It's not a good thing. Okay, and then...
And to be honest, most men who do within the AUB seek a release do it more along the lines of what Christine probably did, where they just, you know what, I'm done with this. See you guys. If any of the wives want to come with me, that's great. But if not, see ya. Yeah. I'm not going to even ask for a release from them. So.
One guy just up and left 12 wives and like 96 kids. He just pieced out.
Yep.
And he didn't go get a release. He didn't go do anything. He didn't care. And those women who wanted to stay in the AUB were then released from him and sealed to other men. I remember it being said how much Cody loved money, so that was his big loss. Yeah, honestly, I think to some degree he's still sad about the spiritual end of it, but absolutely, I'm sure the financial end of it struck him too. But there's no way that he can be so. I mean, maybe he can, but he can't be that turned off that he doesn't feel some spiritual loss. It's just too deeply ingrained into everyone being raised this way. The breakup of his family is really a shame. He had loyal wives. He wasn't loyal. I absolutely agree with that. One of the things Nathan says on here is, how did they treat you? Did they treat you good? You know, my dad's the one who gave that phone call, and my dad's not going to be mean, because this is not something that my dad would have taken any sort of pleasure in. He would have been sad about it, and he would have tried to treat Cody with as much respect as he could have, because he doesn't take pleasure in that kind of thing. I wonder if Robin did have jealousy issues, the way he overstates that he didn't love them. I wonder that too. If he's trying to constantly, remind her, no, you're the love of my life. No, you're my soulmate. No, blah, blah, blah. You know, in this religion, this is where it's just so messed up. And I love how Rebecca calls him out. Well, the other wives left. You flat out said you didn't want to be married to Mary, so why are you surprised she got a release? That's, I guess, the part that just blows my mind, is that he's so wounded that she got this release. This is why Mary and Janelle should go get their releases, because he is literally so wounded. And I love how Janelle's like, he has amnesia. Like, does this guy not remember that he's the one who said You know, and I agree, you can't keep up these pretenses for 20 years. Well, I don't agree with that. And here's why I don't agree with that. Because if you don't like a wife, you just don't go to her house. You go to the other wife's house. And so how many years could you hold up a relationship like that? If you're only at that woman's house once a week, maybe twice a week, I doubt he even went there. Like if he had an issue with Christine, he just didn't go over there. And so I think you could hold up those pretenses for quite a while. Somebody says, are you related to him or any of them? No, I'm not related to Cody. His family married in. I am related to Christine in a dozen different ways of marriage. And then Mary, I don't know that, I mean, distantly related through marriage is what we could say, but no, not directly related. Christine's grandpa is the one who converted my dad. He was the original founder of the AUB, and he's the one who converted my dad. So right. My dad looked at him as a father. And
I'm not related to anybody, so.
Yeah. Cory's parents both married or converted into the AUB. Both of my parents converted into the AUB, so we don't have a lot of blood relation. I have a lot of blood relations through my other mothers, who are blood related. And so, so no, not exactly. And so, you what?